Now we'll start with the second bit of third unit, that is combined stresses. In combined stresses we are having direct and bending stresses. As the name indicates, combined stresses in the sense when more than one stress is acting on the body, such a system is called as combined stress system. But in that we are going to focus on direct and bending stresses. Okay, these direct and bending stresses will be acting on a column, and when I'm talking about column, the columns are neither too short neither too long. The columns which we are going to analyze in this unit is medium columns, okay, whose length is medium. And one more important thing you need to understand, only in this unit we are taking sign convention for tensile force as negative and sign convention for compressive force as positive. Once again I repeat, tensile force we are taking sign convention as negative, and compressive force we are taking, compressive stress we are taking sign convention as positive. There is a reason for doing that, but we'll see that afterwards. First we'll try to understand the concept. If once we understand the concept, then solving the problems is very simple for this bit of the unit. See, if I consider a circular column having cross section of A, and if I apply the load, see, columns are usually designed to withstand compressive load. Whatever beams are subjected to load, those beams will transfer the load onto the columns. So usually columns are designed to withstand compressive load. Now if I apply the compressive load exactly at the central axis of the column or neutral axis of the column, when I apply a load like this exactly at the neutral axis, then only the column will be subjected to only compressive load. I repeat, when I apply the load exactly at the center, column will be subjected to only compressive load. But if I shift this load and apply it, instead of applying it at the neutral axis, if I apply the load at some eccentricity E, okay, I am applying a load at some eccentricity E from the neutral axis, then you can imagine that apart from compressive force, this force will try to compress the column, but apart from compressive force, this force, since it is subjected towards one end, it will also try to bend the column towards right side. You can see when I apply the load here, it will try to bend this column towards right side. Okay, so whenever there is a load applied at some eccentricity, two types of stresses are induced in the column. One is the compressive stress, which is also called as direct compressive stress, because it is trying to compress the column in downward direction. And second is bending stress, because this force is also trying to bend the column towards right. The same force if I apply towards left, then it will bend the column towards left. Okay, so these forces we are going to analyze. One is direct stress, that is compressive stress, and other is bending stress. When these stresses are induced, whenever the column is subjected to eccentric loading, and eccentricity is represented by E, where E is nothing but distance from neutral axis to the point of application of load. Now see, I am applying this load at some eccentricity E. If I want to represent this load at the neutral axis, okay, if I want to represent this load at the neutral axis, then what I can do is I can apply equal and opposite load at the neutral axis. Okay, whatever load I am applying here P, the same load will be applied here in downward direction and also upward direction, that is equal and opposite, so that these two will get cancelled, and it is as good as saying that I am applying only this force, right? So whatever force I am applying here, same force is applied here in downward direction, also same direction, and also in opposite direction. Now what I am doing here is I am representing this force along the neutral axis. For that, when I represent these two forces, now consider this force which is acting downward, and also consider this force which is acting upward. Now these two forces are having equal magnitude, that is P and P, but direction is opposite, and also there is perpendicular distance between them, that is eccentricity E. So this force and this force will form a couple. Couple is nothing but equal and opposite forces acting, but they are having some perpendicular distance, and this couple will give rise to clockwise movement. You can see here, this will rotate in downward direction and this will rotate in upward direction. So these two couples will give clockwise couple, and the magnitude of that couple will be P, that is force into perpendicular distance is E. So these two forces I can again represent it using this symbol, that is for this is a symbol for constant bending moment or couple. Okay, so instead of these two forces I am going to represent using this couple acting at this point, right? That is what I wanted to do. I wanted to represent the effect of this force with respect to neutral axis. So I brought the effect of this force to the neutral axis, right? So I have represented the couple as P into E. So the effect of these two forces are over, but this force is going to remain as it is, that is vertically downward force. Finally I can show it in this direction as this force will be remaining as it is, that is force P acting at neutral axis, and also because of this force and this force there will be a couple which is given as P into eccentricity. Now what I have done here is, whatever this load was causing the effect, that I have represented it at neutral axis. This is how we bring the load acting at some eccentricity to the neutral axis. So there is a force P and there is also a moment P. This effect and this effect both are same, because this P was trying to compress the column and also it was giving a right side bending moment. Same thing is happening here. Okay, there is a right side bending moment and there is a compressive force P, but just I am representing this force, instead of here I am representing it at the neutral axis. Okay, so what I can do is I can write total stress induced in this column because of the force P as summation of direct stress plus bending stress. Okay, what is direct stress? It is a compressive stress and also there is a bending stress, and we all know that bending stress is given by sigma B is equal to M by I into Y, where M is nothing but bending moment, which is given by P into E, which is given by P into E. This bending moment, this is nothing but bending moment P into E, divided by I. What is I? I is moment of inertia into Y. Y is nothing but distance from neutral axis to extreme fiber. Okay, so this is the formula. Sigma total, that is total stress, is equal to direct compressive stress is given by load by area. This is the load P and it is acting on the top area, so that area we need to consider, plus M by I into Y. Now let us understand what is I. There are two I's, moment of inertia with x axis, which is Ixx, and also moment of inertia with respect to y axis, which is Iy, then which we need to take. Now this is the front view. Okay, this is the front view I am representing, and I am applying a load here, so it will get bent to the right side like this. When I draw the top view of this area, this cross sectional area, when I draw the top view, it will look somewhat like this: A, B, C and D. See, load is applied along this x-axis. Load is applied at this x-axis point, and eccentricity is between y-axis and the load P. Okay, eccentricity is between y-axis and load P. So what should I take, Ixx or Iyy? I need to take Iyy, because eccentricity is with respect to y-axis. Why I need to take Iyy is eccentricity is with respect to y-axis. This load, it is having a perpendicular distance between y-axis, but if you look at x-axis, it is directly acting on x-axis. Now what happens when there is eccentricity with respect to y-axis? If you look at this beam, it is bending towards right. Okay, see, when it is bending towards right, if you hold a pen in your hand and if you apply force such that if it bends towards right, then it is going to tilt with respect to y-axis. Okay, hold the pen in your hand and tilt it towards right. Okay, it is going to tilt with respect to y-axis. Here you can see, this is the y-axis, right? Okay, this is the y-axis. If you can imagine, this is the y-axis, and here this way horizontally is x-axis and vertically is y-axis. So it is tilting with respect to y-axis. So that is why we need to take Iyy. Then what is the value of y? Y is nothing but distance from neutral axis to extreme fiber. See, if this is a cross section, this is the neutral axis. Okay, since I am taking with respect to y axis, since it is bending with respect to y axis, I need to take y axis along neutral axis, and distance from this layer neutral axis to the extreme fiber in perpendicular direction. Extreme fiber is either this rightmost fiber or to the leftmost fiber, that will be b by 2. Total width is b, so from neutral axis y axis to the extreme fiber will become b by 2. Okay, so if eccentricity is with respect to y axis, I need to take I by y. If instead of load acting at this point, if it acts at this point, then it is along the y axis, but eccentricity, distance, perpendicular distance is with respect to x axis. In that case, the beam will bend away from us. Okay, if you hold the pen and if you apply the force away from yourself, then the beam will bend away from us, then it will bend with respect to x axis. Okay, then we can take Ixx. Then y will be distance from x axis, neutral axis to extrememost fiber perpendicular to this neutral axis is this fiber, that is nothing but d by 2. This distance will be d by 2. Okay, now see, when bending stress is total stress, if I consider, it is sum of direct stress, which is compressive stress, and bending stress. Okay, and bending stress, which is given by m by I into y. Now if you look at these layers, this is A and this is B, and this is C and this is D. Okay, when I am applying this force at this point, beam is going to bend towards right. When it is bending towards right, see, compressive force will always try to compress the beam, so it is always compressive in nature. But bending moment may be tensile in nature or may be compressive in nature. For example, when this beam is bending towards right, it is looking somewhat like this. Okay, this is the bent section. Now if you consider C, corner C and D, look, here are the corners C and D. This layer is getting compressed. This layer is getting compressed. That means its length is getting decreased. So bending stress will be negative. So bending stress will be compressive in nature. In that case, even this will be having compressive stress, and bending stress will also be compressive in nature. So I am going to add both of them. That means along this layer, that is along C and D, along this layer, both because of direct stress is also compressive, and because of bending stress also I am getting it as compressive. So I am going to add both of them. So along at corner C and at corner D, I am going to get maximum stress because both are getting added. But same thing if I consider corner A and corner B, that is along this layer, when the beam bends right side, this layer is getting stretched or it is getting elongated. That means whatever bending stress, because of bending stress or bending moment, this layer is getting elongated. That means there is a tensile bending stress acting on this layer. And like I told you, if there is a tensile stress, then we need to take it as negative. So if I consider stress at A and B, because of direct stress, that is compressive stress, I am taking it as positive, but because of bending there is a tensile stress, so I am going to take it as minus sigma B. Since this is having compressive nature and this is having tensile in nature, both will get subtracted and the value will become less. So there will be a minimum stress acting at A and B and maximum stress acting at D and C. So I am going to represent it as sigma max and here as sigma minimum. Now why should we take tensile stress as negative is because whenever column is bending, tensile stress is always unnecessary stress. Okay, again I repeat, tensile stress is unnecessary because columns are designed to take compressive stress. They are not designed to take tensile stress. See, whenever this layer is getting stretched out because of the bending, what is happening is this layer is trying to get removed from the ground. See, this is the ground. Okay, whenever it is getting bent to right side, this layer is subjected to tensile stress and it is trying to come out of the ground because of tensile force, bending tensile force. It is trying to come out of the ground, and we don't want the column to come out of the ground. because that is the support where the column is fixed. We want column to be remained inside the ground. If you look at this layer, this layer, it is getting pushed into the ground, so it will never come away, apart from the ground. But this layer, it can be removed from the ground because of tensile force. So that is why tensile force is unnecessary force which can be avoided, and we are going to take tensile force as negative. So maximum stress when the direct stress is also compressive and bending stress is also compressive, and minimum stress when direct stress is, obviously it will be always compressive, and bending stress will be tensile. This is about direct and bending stress. Now we'll briefly discuss about stress distribution diagram for columns, okay, which are subjected to direct and bending stress. See, from the discussion we came to know that whenever I am applying eccentric loading at an eccentricity E from the neutral axis, the column will be subjected to compressive stress, that is direct compressive stress sigma D, and also bending stress sigma B. Now what I said in the previous discussion is tensile stress is unnecessary stress, okay. We should try to avoid the tensile stress both in this C and D zone and also in A and B zone. If we avoid tensile stress, then it is useful for us, okay. Now for that there are three types of stress distribution diagrams. Let us see one by one. What will happen if direct stress is greater than bending stress? Okay, when I am applying this load and whatever compressive stress is there, if that is greater than the bending stress, what is the load distribution? Let us try to understand. For example, let direct stress is 100 megapascal, which is greater than bending stress, that is 30 megapascal. Now how to draw stress distribution diagram is, consider one horizontal line. Let this horizontal line represent zero stress line, okay. Whatever points are there on this horizontal line, those points are having zero value. If I move above this line, then the stresses are positive. If I move up below this line, then the stresses are negative. After applying this force, we all know that column is going to bend towards right. When it is bending towards right, compressive stress is, if I consider column C, part C and D, it is subjected to direct compressive stress and also bending compressive stress. But if I consider corner A and B, it is subjected to compressive stress because of direct stress and tensile stress because of bending. But if I look at stress diagram, see here, this is a zero stress diagram. Now we'll represent direct stress and bending stress. Suppose direct stress is 100. We know that compressive stress, we are going to take it in downward direction. Suppose this is a direct stress up to this point, okay. Here direct stress is value is 100, suppose, okay. From here I am getting the value as 100. From here also I'll get the value as 100 because of direct stress. I'm going to join them using a dotted line like this. Now this is about direct stress. But if you look at right section, that is C and D, because of right side bending, here you can see, because of right side bending moment, they are subjected to compressive stress also. Because of bending stress, they are subjected to because of bending stress, they are subjected to compressive stress only. So here, because of direct stress is also compressive and bending stress, suppose it is 30, which is less, so I am drawing a height to lesser value, okay. This is also compressive, so both I am adding together, both direct stress and compressive stress I am adding together from this point C to point D. But if you look at this end, that is section A and B, because of the direct stress there is compressive stress is up to this point. But because of the bending, here you can see, because of the bending there is tensile force, and bending we need to take it as negative, okay. From A to this point there was direct stress which was acting downward, but tensile stress is negative, so we should move upward. So if I consider bending stress as 30, which is up to this height, it is coming downward here, but here it is going to go upward. So it will be direct stress minus, direct stress was this up to from here to here, minus bending stress, that is it is going to subtract. So I am going to get, after adding direct stress and bending stress, I am going to get this point. So this is the final point here. From here I am going to move join this final point. So for here the final point is this one, and for here the final point is point B. But one thing you need to notice here is consider only final point. Okay, final point here also I'm getting compressive stress because it is downward with respect to this horizontal line, zero line, it is downward I'm getting. So total after adding both them I'm getting the total stress as compressive. And here also if you look at this point, final point, I'm getting it below horizontal line. That means after adding direct stress and compressive stress, the stress is compressive in nature. Okay, so it is fine because of both the stresses, direct and compressive stress. Whatever stress is induced here, net stress is compressive stress, so it is a safe design. There is no tensile stress induced in right side also and left side also. Now consider second case, direct stress and bending stress are equal. Suppose direct stress is also 50 megapascal and bending stress is also 50 megapascal. We know that here direct stress, let me represent up to this point as 50 megapascal, and from here bending stress is also compressive. So again both are, I'm going to add them. So finally I'm going to get the final point at D. Because both are compressive in nature, after adding sigma max I'm going to get them as 100 megapascal. Now come to this section. When direct stress is acting, from this point I am going to move downward up to 0.50 megapascal here. But because of bending, that is 50 megapascal, tensile force will be acting. I am coming down 50 megapascal because of compressive stress, and I am going again back to 0 point because the bending stress is tensile in nature and having same magnitude. So this is the final point I am getting. At this point, final point in the right side, that is C and D, because of the final point I am getting the compressive stress, and at left section, that is A and B, because of direct stress and bending stress I am getting the total stress as 0. Now this is also safe condition because I am getting compressive stress in the right side and 0 stress in left side. There is no tensile stress, so it is also a safe condition. But if you look at third case, wherein direct stress is less than bending stress, for example direct stress is 30 megapascal and bending stress is 70 megapascal. Let us represent in stress diagram. Suppose this horizontal line represents 0 stress line. Okay, now look at the right side. Right side is subjected to compressive stress because of direct stress and also compressive stress because of bending stress. That I am representing here. Direct stress is say 30 megapascal, so short line, and bending stress is also compressive in nature, but since it is more, so I am drawing a larger line. Adding these two stresses, I am net stress I am going to get at point D, which will be compressive in nature. But come to the left section, that is A and B. First I am representing direct stress up to this point. Okay, direct stress is compressive in nature, so I am taking it downward direction. Say it is 30 megapascal. But when I am considering bending stress, it is negative in nature and the value is 70. So tensile stress I am going to take from this point to upward direction. Up till from here to here it will be 30, but total is 70. So again I am going to go from this point to this point up to 40, so that this total will become 70. Now you can see the tensile stress is more, that is I am getting a tensile stress at point A. It is moving above the 0 line, above the 0 stress line. That means at point A I am getting a tensile stress, and here I am getting a compressive stress. This is not a required condition because there should not be any tensile stress induced in the column. But when direct stress is less than bending stress, there will be tensile stress induced in the column. So required condition for us is direct stress should be greater or equal to bending stress. When direct stress is greater or equal to bending stress, there will be no tensile stress induced in the column. Okay, even if the column is bent. But when direct stress is less than bending stress, there will be tensile stress induced in the column, which is a bad condition when we are designing any column. So for designing a safe column, we need to consider this condition, that is direct stress is greater than or equal to bending stress. Remember this condition. Now apart from this, there is one more term called as section modulus, which you are going to study in depth in your 4th unit. Let me just briefly tell the definition. Section modulus is represented by Z, and it is given by ratio of moment of inertia divided by Y, where Y is nothing but distance from neutral axis to extreme fiber. Moment of inertia is having a unit of mm raised to 4, and Y is having, it is nothing but distance, so mm. So unit of section modulus is mm cube. This is not important for this unit, it is important for next unit. Now we'll move on to next concept.